Hey everybody, thought I'd do a live and catch up with everybody, see how everybody's doing this evening. I know it's a Friday night and most of y'all are out enjoying football games or time out with the family or maybe going to watch a movie or out to eat, shopping, whatever the case may be. Uh, I hope y'all having a safe time out there. And if you're in a part of the United States that's getting these storms, I hope you're staying safe out there. I watched the weather and checked the radar before I came live. Most of the storms close to me are in Middle Tennessee, a few hours away, and they're moving in a different direction than where I live. So, we're doing all right for the time being. According to the future radar, they showed on the weather. Northwest Alabama, which is on the other side of the state from where I live, is going to get the heaviest of it. And by the time it reaches to us, it's going to be falling apart. So, I want to keep the people that's, in the path of these storms in my prayers. Because, if you been following my channel long enough or been around long enough, you know that I absolutely hate storms. I'm not a big fan of them, especially since the April 27, 2011 tornado super outbreak that happened, and where further we had that came through in the tornadoes. I just absolutely hate storms now. And it could be just a simple rainstorm, with or without any lightning and thunder, and I still pacing the floor. I know it's stupid, but if you've never experienced a tornado, and if you haven't, I pray that you never do, they are no fun to deal with. And, I wouldn't want to wish that on nobody. Tornadoes are pretty rough with their own, right? I've seen about two or three of them in my lifetime, and that's two or three more than I ever wanted to see. Hope I can go the rest of my life without ever seeing one. But luckily enough, I hate everybody that's joined my life so far. How are y'all doing this evening? But I'm also blessed enough to live in a part of a state. If the storms are coming from the west side of the state or the southern half of the state, by the time they make it up to where I live, a lot of times they done fell apart or lost a lot of their oomph. Hey Marion, hey Travis, how are y'all doing? Hoping y'all having a pretty good weekend. And I thought about going to watch some football this weekend. And then I changed my mind and ended up going fishing for a little while. Figured I'd have more fun doing that than I would going to watch a football game. Hey Logan, how are you doing today? Hoping you having a good Friday night. I know last Friday night there was a team over toward Huntsville that two teams that set a record for most points scored in a game at 112. Thank you, Marion, and that's good, Logan. There was one of the teams scored like 71 points. The other one had like 41. And I'm sitting there thinking, what in the world happened to defense in high school football? And then Saturday, I'm a Florida Gators fan. I hadn't even checked the score to see if they even won last Saturday. I'm falling behind on that. But anyway, Alabama got beat. And so did the other team. I think Auburn even got beat last weekend. And I had to go through this whole week listening to people that cheered for both teams, cry like little babies because their team lost. I just think it's funny. Man, yes, I'm a huge Florida fan, but I'm not going to sit there and cry like a little baby because they lost or make excuses for them. All you hear me say is, it just wasn't their weekend. And, hopefully they'll do better next weekend. That's all you'll ever hear me say about it. And, and if you ain't never been pond fishing, I highly recommend it. Especially if the pond's fully stocked with fish. Hey, Marion, how are you doing this weekend? And, yeah, pond fishing is pretty fun, especially if the pond's fully stocked. And there's one across the road from where I live. Seen it in my birthday video back in July. But so far the biggest fish we've caught out of there about a 4 or 5 pound bass. I know there's 2 of them in there. I'm sure there's more. Rest of them are a couple of pounds apiece, but that's pretty good for a pond. But the biggest fish I ever caught out of a pond, yeah, man, I'm in the United States too. I'm down here in Alabama. Save you jokes for later on that, because I'm pretty sure I've heard all of them. But there was this guy that owned a property that had like 5 or 6 ponds of. Hey, Angie, how are you doing this evening? Biggest bass I ever caught probably go about 8.5, 9 pounds. Caught it out of the river. This is back in the 90s. Kind of telling on myself how old I am. But this guy that owns all these ponds, he kept them well stocked. And I caught a 7 pound bass out of the first pond we went to. When I was growing up, I used to keep all the fish and we'd skin them and do fish fries and all that. But as I got older, and a lot of my aunt and uncles and my grandparents passed away, and a lot of my older cousins sort of got disabled or passed away, we really don't do fish fries anymore. I think the last fish fry that I went to, if memory serves me well, was about 15 years ago. And, that's way too long for me to go without being at a fish fry. And if you ain't never been to a fish fry in the South, I highly recommend it. It don't get as crazy as you would think as far as drugs and alcohol goes. You mainly just sitting around, you'll have 5 or 6 different groups of people frying up the fish. And then you'll have another group of 2 doing the hush puppies. And then whatever else people bring in for people to eat on. I highly recommend it. And if you're trying to watch your weight or have problems with your blood pressure or you got diabetes, you're in for a rough time because you'll gain some weight. Your blood pressure will shoot through the roof, and your diabetes will be picking which body part it's going to take. Because we fry everything. We love our sweets down here. As you can tell, I'm a pretty good sized boy, but I have lost like 200 pounds in the last year and a half, so I can't complain too much. And, but yeah, down here in the South, we fry everything. And if it ain't fried, we ain't eating it. I turned 41 back in July, Logan. I know it don't look like it, but my poor old body fails every year of it. I ruined both my knees over the years, especially working. I've been working at Walmart for 25 years, and anytime you've worked that long on cement, you can ask anybody that's worked in factory or construction and whatever else, that deals with working on Oh, thank you, Logan. I wished I was 30 again. It'd be nice. My body would feel a whole lot better. I don't know what the world I just killed, but it's dead now. But yeah, I wish I could go back to being 30 again, knowing what I know now, I took care of myself a whole lot better and would have started a lot sooner on losing weight. Because once you get to about your mid to late 30s to your early 40s, losing weight gets a little bit tougher. But anyway, you can ask anybody that's worked on concrete for any extended period of time. It's rough on your knees and back. The first time I ever completely ruined my knee, I think I was about 12 or 13. I've told these stories before, but I'll tell it to you again for the new people here. I was trying to learn how to rollerblade, trying to teach my own self, which I should have known better. I was a big old boy even back then. But big people and rollerblading don't go good together. But anyway, I went one way, my leg and my knee went the other way, and I tore my ACL, my right leg. Well, I didn't completely tear it. It was still hanging on the bone, but barely. Never had surgery on it, let it heal on its own. Didn't heal right. Uh, and it gave me problems on again, off again for a few years after that until I guess it completely healed or I got used to it. Never had no more problems with it until about year 10. I was at Walmart. And then back in 2021, I made a video on this talking about it, but I'll give you a little brief, summary on it. I was going to this gym working out, trying to lose some weight, and they had this one machine there. I don't know what it was called. And it's one of those machines you sit down, has this little armrest in front of you, and a thing of weights to the side. You put a little pin in how much weight you want to use. But anyway, it wasn't really made for big boys. It wasn't fat kid approved. And the first couple of times I slid into it, all right. Didn't have no problem getting into it. And, this goes on for a couple of days until one day I went to sit in. And the top half of my leg went a different direction than the bottom part of my leg. And I heard some popping, sound like somebody shooting off some fireworks. And that's when I sprained some of the ligaments right below my knee. And that should have told me to give it a rest for a little while, let my knee rest up and heal up. Well, I didn't do that. Should have got me and had me some knee braces to wear while I was there, but I stupidly didn't do that either. Fast forward 2 days, and this is one of the few gyms around here that still had carpet on the floor. Because the guy that opened up this gym opened it up in what used to be an old bookstore that went into being a shoe store that now is a gym. Instead of taking the carpet up and have I forget what you call that white flooring they put down. I'm not good at remembering names for stuff, but anyway, he left the carpet down. And I went to go slide into this machine. And instead of sliding along the floor, like my left leg usually does, it decided to stay in one spot while the rest of my body kept on moving. And I heard something that sounded like an explosion going off in my leg. And if that machine hadn't been there, I would have fell flat on the floor and everything. But I fell into the machine. I sat down. And I sat there for a minute till the pain kind of subsided. I was like, maybe nothing bad happened. I'm thinking about being live tomorrow. I'm not 100% sure. If I do go live, that was a granddad they got killed. Wonder where in the hell it came from. I don't know what time it'll be. Because in the morning we got some rain coming through. But I got a guy that's coming to mow my yard and help me build onto some on my porch. I got to build some steps on my porch, and he's going to help me do that. So if I do go live tomorrow, it'll be sometime tomorrow evening. And I may do upload a video in the morning when the storms that we got supposedly coming through. Like I said, according to future radar, they won't be falling apart before they get here. But if I do go live, I'll let y'all know ahead of time so y'all can get ready for it. But anyway, I tried to get up out of this machine to walk around, and my knee, instead of folding like it was supposed to, like a knee's supposed to be bending, my leg kept going to the right, or my knee kept going to the right. I was like, well, this ain't good. And I got one of the other people that was at the gym. Now, I ain't never met this guy before. I called him over and said, hey, will you go get me that rolling chair? I can't walk. I done something to my knee. I don't know what it is. He was nice enough to get it, and then he went to the car I had at the time, got my cell phone. I called my dad up. Him and his friend came up there to get me. And then I called the owner of the gym, let him know what happened. Because he had another job he did in the daytime. And running that gym was kind of a side thing he did to make extra money. But anyway, I called him up, let him know what happened. And there's this retired guy that he had hired in to help keep the gym clean. Or if something happened, he could go up there and check it out till the guy got off work. Well, he got there right about the same time my dad and his friend got there. And it was rough for them trying to carry, because at this time I was like at 480 pounds. And we're talking about two guys that at that time, one was in his late 60s, weighed 140 pounds soaking wet. And the other guy was like up in his late 50s, maybe early 60s, about the same weight. They ain't going to, they ain't going to help hold me up to make it to the car to go to the hospital with. So, long as that ain't good to hear. Hopefully, you're able to get out of there safely. And I hope the tornado weakens before, or not the tornado, but the hurricane. I hope the hurricane dies down in intensity well before it gets to you. And I hope it dies down enough to where it was maybe just a tropic system. I know that's not much better. But, the wind and the rain and all that ain't near as bad as a hurricane, but I will keep you in my prayers. Hope everything, hope you're able to stay safe, and I hope you don't lose anything. I ain't never really where I'm at. Well, I gotta let me finish my gym story, then I'll move on to the hurricane talk. But anyway, ambulance get there from what from where I was at to the hospital. You're welcome, Logan. From where I was at to the hospital was like a 20 minute drive. And the ambulance charged me $1,000 for picking me up and driving me 20 minutes. Get to the hospital, get me around. Now, my aunt's a doctor at the same hospital, but I think she was either off or working a different part of the hospital. But anyway, I told them which knee was the problem. They will be back to do an MRI. They done an MRI on the wrong leg. They wheel me back to my room, and the people who wheeled me back and forth probably hadn't been gone 5 minutes. And the doctor came in and said, "Hey, we looked at the wrong leg. We're going to have to take you back." I was like, yeah, I told you it was the left leg. If you was trying to get up money to go on a vacation, why didn't you just say so? He muttered something on his breath. They wheeled me back again. I had to hop from one bed to the next because they lay you on a different bed to do an MRI. So they look at the leg, wheel me back. About 10, 15 minutes later, the doctor comes in, and I stretched out my ACL, stretched out my MCL, had a grade 1 meniscus tear. They had to pop my knee back into place, which hurt worse than it did popping out. They didn't wait for the pain medicine to kick in before they done it. And they wrapped my leg up in this funny looking stuff that it had holes all the way through it. They wrapped me around my leg and and it was a little bit sticky. And they put a little tape over it to help hold it down. Like that was going to do anything for me to be able to walk, but they gave me some crutches to walk with. And I've never used crutches in my life because I've never broken a bone or anything to the point to where I needed crutches to walk on. And they asked if I wanted to use crutches to leave or a wheelchair. Yeah, me too, Logan. Getting up to like 15 or 18 was the most we had at one point, or the most I've ever had join alive. But as you've seen, they didn't stick around. Usually, Miss Frida's here, but I don't know if she's running late doing something else or caught up at another live. But no, it's Miss Fawn who it usually is. I don't know if she's just preoccupied and ain't made it. But anyway, they took me out to the car in a wheelchair, and I threw the crutches in the back seat and just hopped on one leg to get into the front seat, which a 480 pounder ain't got no business hopping on one leg, and that leg wasn't happy about it. I get home and I kind of I kind of use my leg and one of my good leg, two arms, kind of crawl under the steps, crawled into the house, crawled to my bed, and it took my dad, a neighbor, to help me get up on the bed, which later on into my recovery, I found out a way to where I could to where I could be able to get to the living room and back onto the bed by lifting my own self up from the floor to using the bed and my good leg. And believe it or not, I actually lost like 70 pounds while I was waiting for my knee to heal. This happened December of 2021, and it was right around the end of August, about the first of September, before I was able to walk using a crutch. I ain't never been saltwater fishing long, and I live in the northeast corner of Alabama, and that's a good 7, 8 hours away from the ocean. I've only ever been to the ocean once in my life, and it was after I graduated high school. The church I was going to took the youth group to the beach for vacation, and me and another guy was the only two out of that youth group that was. Now it was me, him, and his girlfriend. We're the only three graduating out of that youth group. Well, we had a small youth group. I think there was. See, it was me, my sisters. Uh, See, there was Chris Keefe. Then there was the Rhodes kids. There was two of them. Then there was my cousin, who was dating the preacher's son. Uh, and then the two other people that were the seniors. What was your biggest saltwater fish, Logan? So that was probably about, I don't know, somewhere around 11 kids in the youth group. But when we went on that trip, the other two that graduated the same year I didn't go with us. They chose to go with their senior class on a cruise ship or some kind of ship. And I decided just to go to the youth group to the beach, but got down there, we didn't do no fishing. I wished we would have, but I was the only real fisherman out of that group that went. Well, that's that's not bad, Logan. That'd give enough meat for a good fish fry. But I went to the beach one time, saw somebody get stung by jellyfish. Went to the hotel, back to the hotel room, never went back to the beach. I went to the sauna and the hot tub and some of the stores and places to eat and all that, but I never really went back to the beach and jumped in the ocean. Just wasn't for me. To me, a vacation's a cabin in the woods, away from society and just getting back with nature. But anyway, back to my knee. It was about the other end of August or 1st of September before I was able to walk, but I had to use a crutch. I used it for 2 weeks. I ain't never had the only saltwater fish that I've really had is I had carp and tuna fish. And that's all I've really had as far as saltwater fish go. And then I had some crabs and stuff like that, as far as seafood goes. But I've never been a real huge seafood fan. When it comes to eating wild game or fish, I'm more into eating turkey and deer meat. I'll eat that all day, every day. But about a couple of weeks after I started back to walking, I started using a cane, and I had me a knee brace wore for the longest, and I wore that knee brace. Now when I was going out in public, whether it was going to work, that's good. Everybody, I ain't got nothing against people who eat seafood, who love it. I'm more into deer, turkey, and turtle's pretty good if you ain't never had turtle. But if I was going to like to work or the church or the store, and I was on disability at this time, because I was on disability for a year before I could really go back to work. So you could say I had like a year-long paid vacation. But anyway, my dad's friend would stop by every morning right around 6 o'clock and he'd pick us up. And we'd go looking for deer and turtle. We wasn't hunting, don't get me wrong here before he started asking or judging. We wasn't hunting them. We was just going around to see if we could spot any. And I was able to give my knee more of a workout, because there would be a few times we'd stop and walk around in the woods and see what we could see and all that, and it helped build my strength up to the point I eventually was able to get rid of the cane and just, resort to just using a knee brace to help stabilize my knee where I could walk around real good. And it was right around June of 2023 before I felt comfortable enough walking around without a knee brace on. Now, I would walk around the house to get the muscles around my knee, the muscles and ligaments around my knee, built back up to where they was able to support me without a knee brace on. Because if you go almost 2 years without really walking on one leg, the muscles and the ligaments ain't going to be really that strong. You got to build them back up. So that's what I did. I walked around the house, now eventually to the point now that I haven't worn a knee brace since August of 2023. And, I've still had knee problems since then. I'm not going to say that I haven't had knee problems since then. It's mainly when it rains. How old are you, Logan? Now, deer hunting's fun. Oh, before I get distracted on another story. But yeah, Logan, as far as hurricanes go, they've never been a real problem. Oh, you still got a lot of growing up there, Logan. I'd enjoy being a kid while I could. But by the time a hurricane makes it up to where I live at, if it even comes in my general direction, it's either like a grade 1 or a, lost enough intensity to where it's just a tropic storm. And all we'll really get out of it's a lot of rain and like 40 or 50 mile an hour winds. Now, depending on which side of the system, and I'm sure you've heard this, there is I think that's the right side of the system, is where all the tornadoes are at. But like I said, a lot of times when, rough weather's coming our way, it's lost a lot of its intensity by the time it gets here. But yeah, Logan, deer hunting's pretty fun. I don't blame your dad for wanting to wait till you get older to where you're more responsible. And I'll give you a little, a story that might help you. That when I was growing up, no, in the part of the neighborhood I grew up, you're almost pretty much born with a gun in your hand. I started out with a BB gun, and then I graduated to 22. Which, it's not that bad of a gun. It has no kick to it. You can mainly, hey, Miss Fun, you finally made it in. But a little 22 ain't really that bad of a gun to, get started out learning how to shoot. And, it's mainly used for killing like squirrels and rabbits. But I never went hunting by myself. It's alright, Miss Fawn. Me and Logan sort of been chatting it up, and we got up to like at one point 18 people in here, but they didn't stick around. But my grandpa and my dad and my uncle always made sure one of the three of us was around me when I went hunting, whether it was dove hunting, whatever, we had me doing, whether it was rabbit, squirrel, dove, or turkey, or deer. There was always somebody around me. I never got to hunt by myself. They wanted to make sure I didn't get myself or somebody else seriously hurt or killed. And they wanted to make sure I knew what I was doing. And when you go hunting, you gotta wear an orange vest. It's law. Oh, happy birthday to him, Miss Fawn. I don't blame you for celebrating his birthday. But you gotta wear a... Hey, Miss Vanna, long time no see. How's everything in the great state of Georgia? Yeah, Logan, I've seen it snow a few times. The worst snow we got was in 93. and the snow was on the ground for 2 weeks. It hadn't started storming here yet, Miss Van. From the way they talked on the news, by the time it reached to where I'm at, it's going to be weakened down a whole lot to the point we may or may not get very much rain out of it. It ain't going to be as rough as what Tennessee and the Northwest or the other side of the state's getting. But back in '93, we had a whiteout blizzard that snow was on the ground for 2 weeks, and it was probably 3 weeks that we didn't have no power. Now here in Alabama, we don't really get a whole lot of snow. Uh, Vanity, the way it's talking, Kentucky and Middle Tennessee supposed to be getting the worst of it. I haven't talked to Bayou since I learned he faked all his stuff, or faked his last couple of videos, and I quit talking to him. But yeah, I found the system that we're supposed to be getting the rain and stuff is coming from Kentucky down through Middle Tennessee, but it's supposed to weaken as it moves through. And by the time it gets to where I'm at, it showed on radars it falling apart and everything. And if I'm not mistaken, by the time it makes to where you live at in Georgia, you may not get much of anything. Maybe a little sprinkles. And then 93 was the worst snow we got. And ever since then, I think the most snow we had at one time was got up to like maybe a couple of inches, and that was it. But we really don't get a whole lot of snow. And I'm not much for cold weather. I like warm weather. It's because, warm weather, I can, cold weather hurts the arthritis in my knees, and it makes it to the point where I can't get around too good. But yeah, I find once I found out that the last couple of videos that Bio put up, he was faking everything, adding in the voices and the other stuff that was going on, I just quit having anything to do with it. But yeah, I miss fun. Mainly Kentucky and and then down to Middle Tennessee, supposed to get the worst of it. And since this is mainly a nighttime event, uh, I ain't got a heated blanket. I need to get one. I've been every time I have it in mind to get one and go to the store, I forget. Or they got them way so overpriced, it ain't worth it. Every now and again, a friend of mine's mom will let me borrow hers, and it helps out a lot. But I have learned that, but now I will admit that if my legs get to the point that if it's rough for me trying to walk, I'll take a half a pain pill. And that helps me out for the rest of the day. It's been hot where I live at too, Logan. Even though the last 2 weeks we've gotten a break from the heat, but the last 3 days it's been real back to, because they're back in July and the first part of August. It was up in the upper 90s to the hundreds. And then the last part of August going into September, it cooled down some to the point it was like the upper 70s to middle 80s. And then, like, since Saturday, it's gotten back into the upper 80s and lower 90s to back miserable hot again. And if I ain't mistaken, as this system comes through overnight tonight into tomorrow, it's supposed to be in the upper 70s tomorrow and Sunday. And then it's supposed to be back up in the 80s and 90s again. But the guy that I listen to on YouTube, Ryan Hall, and I forget the other guy. But they're two trusted meteorologists on YouTube, and down here in the South, we're supposed to. Hey, I love Ryan Hall too, Miss Vanna. They talking about we're supposed to have a above average winter, so it's not gonna. I think they said it's gonna be up to like 5 degrees warmer this year than it usually is. Which, if you think about it, let's be honest here. Winters here in the South haven't been that bad in the last 14 years. They've been running on the warm side. I had pork chops for supper. It is 9:12 where I live at, Logan. How about yourself? Yeah, Miss Vanna and Miss Fawn's been worried about you. We hadn't seen you pop up on any of the videos I uploaded or the lives. We didn't know what happened to you. But I hope everything's all right where you live at. And that's it. You're about an hour ahead of me there. Well, you must live somewhere around the southern end of Georgia or close to Florida. Yeah, Miss Fawn, you way up there in the Yankeeville. You one of them yuppies. Yeah, I hadn't done a live in a while. I've been missed doing it. And I miss getting to talk to some of y'all and everything. And I'm trying to get back on a regular schedule as far as videos and lives. Oh, that's pretty good, Logan. I've been to Florida a few times. I've been really scraping my mind on the type of videos to keep doing that will. You're welcome, Miss Fanny. We miss the regulars that don't show up. We think about you when you don't show up or pop up and everything. Indiana's close enough. But I've been racking my brain on, trying to come up with different video ideas to bring in the views. Because I do realize, sitting here, listening to me talk about Walmart or my day or what I've been doing is boring. It ain't going to keep people's attention. Other than, my loyal viewers like Fawn and Vanna. And I hope Logan does become a loyal follower. Yeah, Miss Vanna, I'm glad to see new people show up too. We had a couple at the start of this live that kind of interacted, but they kind of vanished pretty quick. And as I was telling Miss Vaughn, and you can ask Logan, got up to like 18 people in here, but they didn't stick around very long. And like I said, I know sitting here seeing me talk on videos, the same thing for lives, does get boring. So that's why I try to throw in those ride along videos. If I had a video, or not a video, if I had a vehicle, I could do more variety of videos and spice it up a little bit, and show more of the area I live in, or at least the community and the county. I want to take on some ghost hunting videos. Uh, and if I could get the people, well, thank you, Miss Fawn. I appreciate it. Got up to 5 likes tonight, so that's the most I've gotten ever on a live. So I'm happy about that. We're up to 6 now. But I ain't friends with very many people, which I'm not complaining. But if I could convince a few people to show up in my videos, and I'll do one next time I go fishing, Logan. I just don't know when that'll be. Cause there's a guy from church I go fishing with, and I'd have to find a way to for something to hold my cell phone while I'm fishing, to where you can see everything that goes on, see what I'm catching, see where I'm at, see what kind of baits I'm using. And I believe y'all would enjoy it. It's just a matter of finding a way for something to hold my phone where I could capture it. Yeah, Miss Fawn, I see that, but I kind of missed out on that. I'm kind of wary on watching him since he supports Bayou, which I'm not saying, uh, Noah fakes his video. As far as I know, he never does. But I'm kind of wary of somebody that supports fakers. And you know how I feel about people who fake ghost hunting videos. Uh, yeah, I wouldn't mind doing that, Miss Van, if I had the spare money to be able to get something like that. Cause I'm not monetized on YouTube yet, and the only source of money I got coming in is what I make from work. And by the time get done paying my bills, I don't really have the money to put back into my channel, which is kind of hurting my growth. I understand that. And I do understand that not only do you got to have, interesting stuff that bring people in to watch your videos, you got to put money back into your channel. And I'm just not making that at the job I work at because, yeah, I've been at Walmart for 25 years. But like I said, paying bills just kind of gets in the way of me putting money into my channel. That's why I put my Cash App up, which I'm not begging anybody to help. If you want to help, I appreciate it. I still got my Cash App up, okay? But every bit of money I'd use from that or get from that would go into helping my channel grow and get the stuff I need to better produce videos. Well, I don't like either one, Miss Swan, because when it comes to the ghost hunting community, when you fake everything, you ruin it for the people who do it legitimately and who catch real ghosts and stuff on camera. But with so many fakers out there faking everything, even when somebody loads up, what few people actually load up legitimately load up real ghost hunting videos, people instantly think it's fake or find it boring and won't watch it. And I'm not much for drama. I can't say I did hear about King Cobra, Miss Vaughn. Man, what happened? But like I said, if I could ever get some extra money coming in or support through Cash App, I put it right back into my channel, getting a tripod. Well, that ain't no good. I hate to hear that. I've never watched any of his videos, never heard of him. But that is sad to hear. I send my prayers and thoughts for his family and friends because it's tough losing anybody, especially at that age. And and well, 100,000 subscribers really ain't nothing to sneeze at. That's a pretty good little following. You'll get a YouTube plaque for that. Well, I don't hate anybody either, Miss Fawn. And don't get me wrong, if it came off as I hated by you and Noah, I do apologize. I don't hate either one, but I will not support anybody who fakes ghost hunting videos. And you and Miss Vanna know as well as I do, Bayou always spoke out against fake ghost hunters who uploaded fake videos just for him to turn around and do the same thing, and then Noah to support him when he spoke out against it. That just doesn't sit well with me. I'm sorry to hear about that too, Logan. I always said that grandparents are a treasure from heaven, or a treasure, because, if you're still lucky enough to have your grandparents around, I suggest spending all the time you can with them. They got all kinds of wisdom they can pass down to you that you may never thought of. Because look what they lived through. Especially if you're around mine and Vanna and Miss Fawn's age. And I ain't making fun of y'all's age or nothing. We had our I can't speak for Miss Fawn or Vanna, but my grandparents lived through the Depression, at least one World War, the Korean War, Vietnam, presidency, the good times, the hard times, and they can pass down a lot of wisdom and help you think of stuff that you never think of. Well, Logan, we can only hope he can, or hope he did. I hope he did as well. And if you, well, I hate to hear that about your grandpa and everything. My grandpa on my dad's side died well before I was even born. My grandma on my dad's side. Well, happy early birthday, Miss Fawn. My grandma on my dad's side lived to be 93 years old. My grandpa on my mom's side lived to be like 87. But my grandma on my mom's side died before I was born in a car wreck. So I got to at least know one grandpa and one grandma. Learned everything I could from them. No, my grandma, I was always called a grandma's boy because every second I could spare to be with her, I was with her. It was weekends, vacations from school. I was over there. But yeah, Logan, if you need somebody to talk to, you got me and Fawn and Miss Vanna here. Well, that's pretty good. Your great uncle's still alive there, Miss Vanna. And you're welcome, Miss Fawn. I had a great uncle and a great aunt that made it to their 80s. I ain't never been magnet fishing. Uh, can't say. I don't know how that works. Never heard of it. Well, grandparents always make it fun to be around them. Because I think it's an unwritten rule. I went fly fishing one time. Never really could get the hang of it. I ended up hooking myself, and the guy that I went to more than the hook ever went into the water, and I gave up on ever trying fly fishing. Maybe one day I will, Miss Fauna. I'll have to look into it. But I think it's an unwritten rule in the grandparent world that we don't know about they that they spoil their grandkids and let them get away with stuff the parents wouldn't let them get away with, and let them have stuff they wouldn't normally have. So, I would treasure all those moments you got to be with them. I always enjoyed being around my grandparents. But yeah, fine, I'll try it one day if I can find the stuff to do it with. But yeah, Miss Fanny, you would have loved it. 'Cause like I said, I was hooking everything except for the fish in the water, and half the time I didn't even get the hook in the water. Now I do a lot of bass and crappie fishing, which with crappie fishing you can get away with like a hook and a floater and putting like a cricket or a worm. But if you're like me, I get impatient, and I'll use artificial baits like a spinner bait, maybe a worm or a crankbait, and those don't stay in the water for very long, maybe a minute at the most, and then you're throwing it somewhere else. I ain't paying that much. I ain't never spent $150 to learn anything. Now I've spent more than $150 going fishing and hunting, but I ain't never spent $150 on learning how to do any of that. I did most of mine by trial and error. Well, I hope you're going to be alive in the morning, there, Logan. I'd hate to think that you wasn't. I've seen people noodling. It's just something I never done. And I don't know about where you live at, Logan, but it's around here in northeast Alabama. If you want to catch a frog, you can get it anytime you want. It was in the lower 90s around here, Miss Fawn, where the humidity level was pretty rough. Like I was telling, or me and Vanna was talking earlier, Kentucky all the way up to about Middle Tennessee is supposed to be getting some rough storms. Well, by the time they make it to Middle Tennessee, I think they're like in the two out of our weather stations around here. Oh, it'll be tomorrow evening. If I go live, it'll be tomorrow evening. I'll be a little busy in the morning. I may upload a video in the morning. Depending on if we get any rain or the storms, I'll show some of it. But if I go live, it'll be tomorrow evening. But they do like they got a thing. It's a 1 out of 5, which is a very low chance of severe weather. A level 2 is likely. And then anything from 3 on, you're more than likely going to get hit by some pretty rough storms. But Northwest Alabama up into Tennessee is a level 2. And from just on the other side of Huntsville into parts of Georgia, down toward Birmingham's in the green, which is the low end. You may or may not see any rough storms. But like they were showing on the radar. Alright, Logan, I'll do my best to be on tomorrow. We can do some more chit chatting and all. I know it's getting late where you're at. But from what the future cast on the radar was showing, the time it makes it to here, the storms are falling apart. And some of the roughest is going to go up above us or below us. I won't get into my life story tonight. I'll do that tomorrow. Because I've already been on here for an hour and everything. So I'll save my life story for tomorrow. And thing I want to get off here and start getting ready for bed and everything. So I thank y'all for joining. Thank you, Logan, Matt, and Fawn for being here through most of the live and for the people that showed up. And thank you, Miss Fawn. I hope y'all have a good rest of y'all's night. And I will see y'all tomorrow evening in tomorrow's live stream. My message, good night, Miss Vanna and Fawn and Logan. My message to the world is just take life one step at a time. And never give up hope that life will always get better and it can't stay bad all the time.